So the work we are here for, what we are here for, to turn towards the self, the being, the awake field, the true one that just is, and to open to and receive all of the parts that have been rejected. So in this invitation to welcome what is being denied, to shine the light for what is being denied to come forward, we are inviting everything into essential wholeness. Because if there is a single part of ourself that is being denied, hidden, suppressed, then how can we truly know wholeness? True wholeness is, let's say it's true integrity, right? Integrity, the integral whole, wholeness, divine wholeness. That oneness, the oneness where there is truly nothing left out. Where there's not even something referencing any sense of other, right? Where we're coming to remember a depth of wholeness where you do not even remember why you started this journey, right? All your questions fall away. You're not looking for something. There's no one that's looking to get somewhere. Coming to a depth of wholeness where everything is so fully included that the wideness of the infinite heart is known so deeply that there is only the sameness. The essence of everything is known as the essence of what you are. And so in this invitation to recognize what is being denied, it can be taken in a very strict way, right? It can be taken in a very sobering way. But in truth, it's about mercy, right? It's about loving every single part of yourself with such a gracious, compassionate, merciful love that only wholeness can hold, right? We're not speaking about harshness. We're not speaking about any quality of that holds any kind of, let's say, aggression or power, right? We're speaking about something which is true power, and that is this merciful love, this unconditional, merciful love. And only when we can hold all of ourselves in this merciful love can we restore every single part of us into the dignity of utter wholeness. Only then do the protective holding patterns and defenses fall away. So there can be such an idea, a holding idea in the mind of what awakening is and wanting this kind of awakening. But in truth, as there is a diminishing of all of the protection, you cannot help but discover your wholeness. The wholeness, the being, the self is what is here, what remains when everything else that can hold and pull the attention has diminished. We could even say that in such a situation, that one single true inquiry will just land you in yourself. Can be so full of judgment. But the deepest judgment is of ourself, right? We're only placing it outward as a projection because it's how we treat ourselves, right? We're projecting out the way that we treat ourselves, the harshness, the unkindness with which we treat ourselves. When someone seems to be unkind to you, what they are showing is how they treat themselves. What is going on inside someone who is angry? What is going on inside someone that plays out abusive behaviors? What is going on inside someone? Can we hold such compassion and mercy for that too, right? Such a huge part of this unfolding is coming to receive into love all of the parts of ourself that have been denied, pushed away, that we judge about ourselves, all of the ways that we hold this idea of not enoughness, not good enough, doing it wrong, you are bad, right? This is the story of the human condition. It's a story that there's something missing, when in truth there is nothing missing. We are the integral whole, we are wholeness. But for some reason we're believing this story, and we're living the belief in that story. So what happens if we start shining a light upon the story we are telling ourselves, and we stop denying the story, right? We're not speaking about indulging in the story and playing out the cycle of victimhood. But when we can hear what is the story you are telling yourself, there is wisdom in the story. And so even the story cannot be denied. Even the story has to be allowed for wholeness to be whole. But we receive the story as wisdom, that it's shining the light. It's shining the light to show us what we're denying. What is the story that we are telling ourselves? Where are we trying to project that outwards? We could say if someone treats us unkindly or in a way that we don't like, feels hurtful. It is about our reaction. What is reacting, right? And in our reaction, there's good information. But the good information is in how we are feeling. The feelings of feeling hurt, squashed, put down, betrayed, angry, right? It's giving us an opportunity to meet all of these places in ourselves. Because if there's reaction, then there's stress in the nervous system. It's not to say that that being's behavior is okay. Everything that being is expressing is about something that is going on in them. But at the same time, we're creating the situation out of our unconsciousness. So we have to meet so fully our own anger, our own upset, our own feelings of being hurt. We have to meet all of these areas without denying, holding such love, such kindness, such mercy, right? This mercy, this merciful love is so alive and necessary to restore all of these places to this dignity, this wholeness, the remembering of oneness. As we clear through our reactions, we become less and less reactive. What happens is we become more and more transparent. And in that, everything becomes transparent. So as our reactions fall away and we heal, we drop deeper into the clarity and openness of essential wholeness. But of course, essential wholeness, if behaviors are still playing out around us, then there's such a transparency to it, and there's no reaction. There's a seeing of it. And then this even deeper ability to say, what is going on inside that being that is acting out anger? And when you have no reaction, right? The work is mercy, merciful love. It's to hold every being in that love, as that love. This unraveling that gets called awakening, enlightenment, essentially it's all about love. It is coming to a depth of love that is merciful, redemptive, and it is this kind of love that restores and brings everything that has been denied, rejected, suppressed, pushed down back to wholeness. We cannot restore wholeness through any kind of reactivity or finding anything wrong, right? And as we have this openness of heart and this willingness to love all of the parts of ourself, then and only then do we have this possibility to love other beings, because then we are loving other beings as ourself, as an integral part of the wholeness that we are. So our work is to love yourself, small self, every single fiber into the remembering of oneness that is the self, right? To have this merciful love for every single part of yourself. How does it change things if you don't judge yourself and you don't constantly engage in the dialogue inside that is criticizing yourself, confirming and repeating how you are wrong, bad, broken, right? What if all of that is part of wholeness too? But we have learnt that what is good in this world is to behave in certain ways. We value the imbalance. We've learnt to value the imbalance where full functioning, full health, right? All of this full performance, have it all together, get it done, be successful, show it off, right? It's this imbalance into this very Shiva energy, right? But what if the brokenness, what if the dis-ease and the illness, it's all part of it? What if you're not broken, if your body isn't working quite right? What if we're just not constantly in this struggle to try to match some ideal of perfection that is actually flawed in its essence, that it's a belief and totally flawed, that it is not the integral wholeness and it is not the essence nature? What if we open so wide, so big with this shining, merciful love that includes absolutely everything? It touches this heart so deeply. To love this deeply, right? It can only crack us open again and again and again. That our aspirations for certain kinds of functioning and ways of being in the world are misguided. They're not reality. They don't include everything. And where everything is not included, that is separation, right? That is not the integral whole. Can we let this merciful love touch all of our functioning? Can we shine the light upon those mental ideas that judge and have opinions, want things to be different, say that I'm wrong, I'm bad, I'm not meeting the mark, I need to be different, right? Can we see how the whole life has been this struggle, and this is the struggle of separation? So we can attend satsang and we can have high aspirations about what awakening is, but that too is just part of the myth. And if we buy into that myth, for that, looking for that moment, looking for that Shiva awakening, then we're just buying more into the dysfunction. Yes, we're speaking about balance, so we're not throwing out or discarding the clarity, the direction, the steadiness of this more Shiva side. But we are taking a look at where it can tip over into control and an imbalance of power that's manipulative, and it's authoritative, and it's this mind that's saying, This is the way you have to be. This is what life has to look like. You have to be successful in this way, and you have to be healthy in this way, right? We're buying into a myth. What is truth is to live aligned with the heart, to live aligned with now, to live aligned with the deepest truth of your heart and not be looking for something different. What I can guarantee is that you will bump into your true self. You will bump into the love that you are. Because when all the myths are dispelled, when all of the ideas about what awakening is are dropped, you will find that awakeness is here. Love is here. Grace is here flowing. And life is here living itself in every single configuration that includes everything. And it's completely transparent. You start to see the dance of the human psyche. You start to see the story of the human condition. And it continues to crack your heart open and open and open. Because you are holding this merciful love for every being that is continuing to judge themselves and to believe in the story of not enoughness, not there, never going to get there, not lovable, not worthy. Right? When we can meet ourselves in this depth of love, we can meet all of life with this depth of love. And this is where the knowing of oneness is. Right? So every character in the life that we want to find wrong, what if we feel our feelings, meet the layers of what is disturbed in us, what is challenged in us? What if we meet what is being triggered in us by that behavior? What if we meet this until we fall into an openness? What if we ask the question, what is going on inside that being that acts as a bully, that projects anger this way, that says hurtful things? What is going on inside that being that needs to hold a power of authority? Can you see the child in that being? Can you see the pain in that being? Can you hold that being in merciful love? Knowing that any kind of errant behaviors are coming out of some kind of pain, some kind of distortion. And in that pain, in that distortion, in that fear, in that feeling of not enough, a need to control, a need to exert, anger or bullying, whatever it is, can we recognize that we all hold that, right? In our human condition. We're the same in that, right? We act it out in different ways. But when we're hurting inside, we can project it outwards because to feel that can feel so hard, right? So we're all playing the same game here. Can we hold that whole game in this merciful love? How we start to rebalance this energy is through coming to this depth of merciful love for ourselves and for all beings. We can see in the play of the world the result of the power imbalance of separation, where beings are holding their own pain and hurt inside and projecting it outwards by needing to be right, creating conflict in so many ways, right, on the surface of life. We can only shift that by doing our piece of that work inside, right? Settling out the conflict inside, rebalancing the imbalance of separation inside, meeting everything in our own field with this utter, open, merciful love. Welcoming everything that has been banished, rejected, exiled into wholeness, into a redemptive wholeness of love, right? That just welcomes everything. Will we continue to play out the punishment, the shunning, the division? We see it on the surface of life. We can have a lot of things to say about it. Can be beings that are seeing suffering on the news, in their own lives, or in the newspapers or whatever, and can come to a meeting like this and say, oh, well, it's all very well, but what about if you were, in a zone that was being bombed right now? Right? There's not an ability to know that that appearance on the surface of life is a creation out of that conflict and war of the mind speaking to itself unkindly inside. And that's how it plays out, right? So we have to come to do the inner work to realize that the inner work isn't really inside, it's everywhere. What happens as we do this work? What happens as we gather here and we speak in this way? It's serving the whole right now. Of course, if someone is stuck in mind and the story of separation and has anger, right? I'm using this as an example because somebody wrote to me a very angry, aggressive letter, having watched videos on YouTube. I spent a lot of time writing a really kind response back. I never heard anything back because it's not what that being wanted to hear. They weren't wanting to surrender. They wanted to be angry. But we cannot change anything in the big picture if we are living angry with ourselves, if we are living angry with life, if we are living angry with God, if we're living angry that our health isn't the way that our mind thinks it should be, if we're living angry because our relationship isn't reflecting what we want it to reflect, if we're living angry with our job situation or the environment that we're living in, if we're living angry and we're playing out victimhood, then we're perpetuating and collaborating with that play of separation that is then creating the picture of the world right now, and it plays out as war and conflict and utter craziness, utter havoc, right? I say that, I don't even really know what's going on in the world, but I can feel it. The change happens here. Awakening happens here when we open our eyes to see what is happening in this life. Where am I being unkind to myself? Where am I judging myself? Where am I projecting? Right? It's just to see and to be able to welcome it. There's so much we don't even need to act out, but we generally do act it out. We act it out because it's how we get the punch in the face, right? It's how we get hit by the Mack truck of our own reflection. So what are we here for? What is this human birth about? It's so profound, but we have to stop seeing it in the abstract, right? And there's an honest speaking here of how there's been so much of a deeper seeing has opened here. And that deeper seeing here is being shared with you, so that perhaps you can move a little quicker through the wildness of the human experience, that the work that has happened here and the seeing that happens here becomes an offering. An offering that points out of the lived experience, fully engaged, fully embodied with life, with the humanness. And in the honest revealing, when there is clearer seeing that comes. Clearer seeing is always coming because we are in a time of incredible evolution in consciousness. And the way that we have to live and be, we're being invited to step up, to really step into what this human life is all about. We cannot make the change through anger and perpetuating separation. We can only we can only make the change by collaborating with merciful love. Can we stop fighting life? Can we stop fighting with what is being given? And can we open to receive the grace that everything is coming in order to set us free? If we have reaction, if we have resistance, if we have upset to what is happening, then it is because there is some kind of stress in our nervous system, something that is being denied, that is trying to surface. Instead of pushing it back down, instead of wishing these tears were not coming, instead of wishing that these feelings were not here, instead of wishing that I behaved differently, or I didn't say that, or I did it differently, right? Instead of that, can we just let whatever is trying to surface? Can we receive it with this openness? Sometimes there's the speaking of receiving it with gratitude, into love, loving these places. But there's something about this mercy, right? We have this ability to keep punishing ourselves, this ability to keep shunning ourselves, to be so unkind to ourselves. And this mercy, this merciful love, asks us to welcome these places into a depth of forgiveness of the innocence, forgiveness of the ways that we have tried to survive, a forgiveness of how we didn't know better, right? And to rest here in this quality of openness instead of perpetuating the anger and the conflict and the punishment and the shunning, right? Everything becomes so transparent the more we come into wholeness. And there's no reaction, no more reaction. But there is a seeing of where there are behaviors playing out. And then when the love for yourself is rooted and deep and kind and patient, compassionate, there's no more projection because you're not in pain. And then there is this ability to hold the big space, you could say for the collective, but we see it in the dynamics that are generally right in front of us. It's not my pain and your pain. It's the pain of the human experience, right? So there's a way that ideas about awakening can be a distraction away can take us into the abstract, where our humanness and the lived experience is not included. But for wholeness to be whole, we have to embody, integrate, and live this. And yes, we're not speaking about indulging the story, but we're also speaking about not pushing the story away, that there's wisdom. There's wisdom in allowing everything to be here, but knowing from the depth of being how to be with everything, how to welcome everything into the great space of the heart, of the infinite heart, the wide open heart. And in order to be able to welcome everything, we have to know the stillness, the silence, the simplicity of being. But it's very easy to know this. It will burst all the way through and the bottom will fall out in perfect timing. But it won't happen where there's protection. Or we could say there can be clear seeing, but then what is protected and pulling the attention will continue to pull. There are so many subtle ways that this all unfolds uniquely for each being. We're not climbing a mountain. In truth, you are the mountain. When you know this, you can travel up the mountain, down the mountain, around the mountain, right? Because you're utterly free, because you know what you are, you know your essence nature. And then life can be lived, and it doesn't matter how. Life becomes so ordinary. Honestly, here there's no more spirituality. There's almost no more altars. Right? There's just life living itself. The goodness of everything. The welcoming of everything in every moment. And so from here, the invitation comes to not create expectations for yourself, not create big ideas for yourself. All of that is just a distraction. It is to be here and receive this moment, this moment, this moment, just as it is. The sun is coming out here, right? Everything is being illuminated. It is the grace, the oneness, right? The shining, shining, shining of truth. It doesn't need airs and graces. It doesn't need anything. It doesn't hold attachments. It's so free and pure. It doesn't want anything from you because you already are it.